On 5 News, the man at the centre of football's child abuse scandal is treated in hospital. Barry Bennell was found unconscious in a hotel. It comes as the FA faces growing pressure to widen its inquiry. Also, UKIP's new leader, Paul Nuttall, takes over from Nigel Farage, saying he's got Labour in his sights. IVF rip-off claims people are paying thousands for extra treatment that won't improve their chances of a baby. And
I'm the type of person, I get nervous before my first dress.
Bolt on the big screen. We're live at the premiere of the new film about the fastest man on Earth. Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. The former youth coach at the centre of a child abuse scandal in football has been taken to hospital. Barry Bennell was found unconscious when paramedics reached him. The convicted paedophile has recently been back in the spotlight after a number of former players said he sexually abused them. 4 police forces are investigating claims of historical abuse and the FA has begun an inquiry. But there are calls for it to do more. Our chief correspondent Tessa Chapman reports.
The scandal that is rocking football has taken another twist. Barry Bennell, the former football coach and convicted paedophile, is believed to be in hospital tonight in Stevenage. Taken there by ambulance on Friday after he was found unconscious at an address nearby. Police described it as a fear for welfare incident. They wouldn't give any more details. But as he is treated, outside the storm is growing. The FA has started an internal inquiry, but some politicians are calling for much more, an independent, judge-led investigation.
The widespread nature of the abuse seems to be shocking, and the number of victims who are coming forward. But of course, what's shocking as well on top of that is allegations that have been made that clubs paid players to keep silent on these matters, that people took complaints to their clubs or to the Football Association, and we're not certain what happened with those complaints when they were made.
Andy Woodward was the first to speak out, but now more than 20 former players have made allegations of abuse at major clubs. Not just at Crewe Alexandra, but Blackpool, Manchester City, Stoke City, Leeds United and Newcastle United. 4 police forces have also confirmed they're investigating abuse in football, not just restricted to Barry Bennell. Journalist Deborah Davies can't believe it's all taken so long. She filmed a documentary in 1997 when Barry Bennell was first jailed in America for abuse.
Possibly a whole generation of boys, certainly dozens, maybe even hundreds, had been abused by him. The FA simply didn't want to know. They refused an interview. When I doorstepped their head of coaching outside the FA, he quite literally walked past me, saying nothing.
David Mello was sports minister at the time. He told me the FA must reveal what they knew.
The FA's been unfit for purpose for years, and the fact is that every time there's a problem in football, you learn that the FA knew about it and did nothing about it until they're dragged into the light. I am angry about it because I think that parents deserve their children to be protected. They deserve the security of knowing their children are protected.
There are questions not only about what happened, but how it was allowed to happen. Questions about the culture of a game that must now hold itself to account.
And Tessa, what more do we know about what might have happened to Barry Bennell tonight?
Well, it's been reported he was found in a hotel, and Thames Valley Police used that phrase, a fear for welfare incident. They can't comment on this particular case, but they did tell me they sometimes use that phrase to mean either concerns that a person's physical or mental health was in danger, or concerns that a person might be about to do harm to themselves or others. So it's still not entirely clear, but we do understand that Barry Bennell is in hospital tonight. At the same time, pressure is growing on the FA. They said in a statement that their internal review will look into what clubs knew, what action was or should have been taken. There are calls for this inquiry to be more wide-ranging, though, and the key is independent, with someone outside football. It'll be interesting to see how they respond to that.
Tessa, thank you. UKIP has a new leader tonight. Paul Nuttall, who's been the deputy for 6 years, replaces Nigel Farage with a promise to put the great back into Britain. It's the second leadership election this year for the party. The previous winner quit after just 18 days. Simon Vigar reports.
I've got a certain déjà vu feeling about this morning.
Yes, it was happening all over again. But this time, Nigel Farage said retirement really does mean retirement. The newly elected UKIP leader is Mr Farage's former deputy, Paul Nuttall. Of course, Nigel Farage has been busy since Brexit, and UKIP are now channeling Trump.
Donald Trump spoke about making America great again. Under my leadership, we will ensure that this country gets the Brexit that it voted for on June the 23rd, and then we will put the great back into Britain.
But they've got what they wanted, so what's the point of UKIP now?
There is an open goal for UKIP in Labour working class communities where people feel neglected by the Labour Party. They don't sign up to Jeremy Corbyn's programme, and we can move in and be the patriotic voice of working people.
So you're still going for MP, still going for constituency seats, there's still a point to UKIP?
Oh, absolutely. UKIP is now going to thrive. It will go up in terms of membership. It will be completely restructured. And we will absolutely drill down into local communities, get more councillors elected, and you'll see more UKIP MPs in 2020.
Paul Nuttall is from Bootle and is an MEP for the North West. He inherits a party in a mess. There was the leader who didn't want the leadership, Diane James, and the man who did but then ended up in hospital, Stephen Wolfe. Paul Nuttall told me hard-working EU migrants have nothing to worry about.
All we wanted to do was to take back control of our own destiny in terms, as I said, of laws, finance, borders, trade. You have absolutely nothing to be frightened of at all.
He is in favour of the death penalty for child murderers and also a ban on burqas.
We have to ask the question whether a woman living behind a veil has any place in 21st century Britain.
If that's her choice.
If that's her choice, but then you have to look at the other issues surrounding security, because whether we like it or not, we're the most watched people in the world. There's more CCTV in Britain per head than anywhere else on the planet. And for CCTV to be effective, you need to see people's face.
The new leader of UKIP has his work cut out, while the not very shy and retiring old one looks on. Simon Viger, 5 News.
Theresa May says she wants to strengthen ties between the UK and Poland as she prepares for the formal negotiations over Britain's exit from the EU. The Prime Minister has been under pressure to guarantee the rights of Polish people living here, but says she'll only do that if she receives the same assurances from her counterparts overseas. Our political editor, Andy Bell, reports.
Take a look down most British high streets and you'll see that plenty of Poles have made Britain their home, at least for a time. There are more than 900,000 living in the UK, and many are now wondering just how the referendum could change their lives. In this West London hair salon, they're looking for a little reassurance about their future.
I would like to know where we're standing, like in a long term, because, you know, I've been living here quite a long time, so I quite like to know how to plan in the next couple of years, you know, my life.
I have a son and he's 2 years old, and in a couple of years he has to start the school. So I would like to hear what is the plan for people who live long time, like my family.
Unusually, Theresa May met her Polish opposite number west of London to go to the memorial which commemorates the Poles who fought alongside British forces in World War II. With all the uncertainty over Brexit, Britain is emphasising how both countries can cooperate on defence even more closely. As a symbol of that, 150 British troops are being sent to an area of Poland which borders Russian territory. But it's Brexit which overshadowed this meeting, and on the rights of Polish and other EU citizens living here, the Prime Minister would not budge from her stated view.
I've also reiterated my plan to guarantee the rights of Poles and other Europeans currently living in the UK, so long as the rights of British citizens living across the EU are guaranteed. And I hope we can reach an early agreement on this issue, providing certainty for Polish citizens here and British people living in Europe.
Beata Szydło has said her country will be constructive on Brexit. But today she'd only say everyone must wait for the formal negotiations to begin. Around this table today, much talk of British and Polish friendship, and right now Britain needs its friends in the EU.
Let's speak to Andy in Westminster now. Andy, you're right, Britain does need friends in the run-up to Brexit. How important is that relationship with Poland?
I think the British are hoping it could be very important indeed, Sian. Have a look at all those ministers from Poland and Britain around the cabinet table today. Lots of bilateral agreements being worked out, especially on security and defence. And there, Britain really wants to emphasise that close connection between the two countries, emphasise to Poland how important Britain can be going forward in terms of Polish defence in the face of a Russia which was labelled aggressive and assertive today by both the British and the Polish Prime Ministers. And they're really hoping that if they can emphasise that link, that when it comes to those negotiations about Brexit, Poland will be an ally.
Other big political story today, of course, a new UKIP leader, Paul Nuttall. We heard from him a little bit earlier. What kind of challenges is he going to face?
Well, he has an opportunity in the sense that he really believes that there is a kind of reservoir of support out there for UKIP in what you might call traditional working class, formerly Labour supporting areas. There were something like 44 constituencies in the Midlands and the north of England, which in the last election UKIP came second in those constituencies to Labour. Those are very much in his sights, and he believes he's the man to lead Labour, lead UKIP to go after them. His biggest problem essentially is the massive division and infighting that's been going on inside his party for something like 2 years now. He has to get on top of that if he's going to have any chance of taking his party forward.
All right, Andy, thank you. Coming up on 5 News. Children flee Aleppo as Syrian government forces move in. Are people being ripped off when it comes to paying for extras with IVF? And
Every year, I worry, am I still fast? This year I've said I'm having doubts, I'm not motivated, but then everything changed.
life in the fast lane. We're at the premiere of the new film about Usain Bolt, and we'll also hear from his mum. See you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Her posts on social media show what day-to-day life is like in the besieged Syrian city of Aleppo. Overnight, 7-year-old Bana Alabed, who tweets with the help of her mother Fatima, sent what she said was her last message. Can't be alive anymore. When we die, keep talking for the 200,000 still inside. Well, thousands have fled the city after a weekend of heavy fighting, but many still remain, and aid workers describe the situation on the ground as beyond imagination. Charlotte Grant reports.
They've already lived through months of bombing and shelling, but with fighting intensifying in Aleppo over the past few days, these people are now fleeing, picking their way through what is left of the eastern part of their city. Just how many people have left their homes isn't clear, but there are reports as many as 10,000 have been forced to flee. And this is why. In the Hanana neighbourhood, there's little reason for civilians to stay. But for Syrian government forces, this area now represents a major victory. For 4 years, the eastern part of the city has been under rebel control. But now, after a weekend of heavy fighting, the Syrian army claims it seized back control of several key areas, effectively cutting rebel territory in half for the first time. But away from the power struggles, for people, life is worryingly desperate. 7-year-old Bana's been documenting her experiences on social media for the past few months.
I am sad. It's so bad.
Posting videos like this one to show what life is really like in Aleppo. But over the weekend, she filmed this video calling it a difficult afternoon, before tweeting, "Tonight we have no house. It's bombed and I got in rubble. I saw deaths and I almost died. And then, under heavy bombardments now, in between death and life now, please keep praying for us." In the last few hours, Bana said her and her family are also now on the run. As the UN agrees, conditions are deteriorating.
There's no medicine. There are no functioning health facilities. 250,000 people are there who need assistance, 100,000 of whom are children. And so the situation is dire.
But there is no let-up in the fighting, as many wonder if this is the beginning of the end of the rebellion in Aleppo. Charlotte Grant, 5 News.
People in Cuba have begun lining up to commemorate the life of Fidel Castro in Havana's Revolution Square. His ashes are on display and flags are flying at half-mast as 9 days of mourning are observed. The death of the revolutionary leader was announced late on Friday. He was 90 years old. Anyone paying for IVF could end up spending thousands of pounds on add-on treatments, which are a waste of money. That's according to a research team at Oxford University. Well, around 52,000 women undergo in vitro fertilisation every year, and it can cost up to £5,000 per cycle. And only 1 in 4 results in a live birth. Some pay extra for additional tests or drugs, but a new investigation claims this may not increase the chances of having a baby and could even prove harmful. Peter Lane reports.
So, what are we looking for?
Kira spent 4 years and £30,000 on IVF, finally having Oscar after paying for add-on treatment to suppress her immune system, which had been attacking the implanted embryos.
Every single day I am grateful. Every single day I feel lucky. Infertility is not a choice. It is an extremely painful process, particularly for a woman. It attacks your self-esteem, it attacks your self-worth. And yes, you have to accept there is an element of luck, but you can at least throw the odds in your favour, I believe, by some of these add-on treatments that are appropriate to you.
But when it comes to odds versus scientific proof, researchers from Oxford University say 26 out of 27 add-ons they saw offered by clinics didn't have strong enough scientific evidence of success. Their list includes assisted hatching, where a hole is made in the outer embryo lining. It costs £450. Blastocyst culture, where embryos are grown for longer in the lab, costing £800. And genetic embryo screening for abnormalities, which costs £3,500. But there have been examples of it reducing the chance of a successful pregnancy.
These interventions are not founded, they are expensive, they don't add value. Everything from embryo screening to astrology being used in the IVF process and anything in between, which beggars belief.
Industry regulator, the HFEA, told 5 News an increasing number of patients tell us they feel unsure about IVF treatment add-ons, whether they work and are worth the extra cost. We are concerned about the recent step change in the use of treatment add-ons. Unfortunately, we have limited powers to stop clinics offering them, nor to control pricing.
This is you inside Mummy's tummy.
Wow.
As for Kira, she counts herself doubly lucky that the treatment she paid for worked and, of course, that she could afford it. Peter Lane, 5 News.
Drivers on Southern Railway have voted to strike in a dispute over driver-only trains. Passengers were already facing travel disruption over the holiday period. That's because of a row over the role of conductors. This is a separate walkout, which means strike action on various dates in December and January. Blink and you might miss him. There is no one faster than this man, Usain Bolt, and he's got 9 Olympic gold medals to prove it. Now a new film charts his success. Let's go to Minnie Stevenson, who's at the premiere. Minnie, tell us a little bit about the film.
Well, Sean, he's of course the fastest human on the planet, but you could be forgiven for not really knowing much about the man behind the sprinter. Now, I Am Bolt is the documentary which follows him from his route in Jamaica right up to the podium in Rio. Now, I have seen the film. Don't worry, I won't give you any spoilers, but I can confirm he sings in it. He says very badly. You'll hear from his parents, and of course there are some home videos. Everybody loves a home video. But right now, let's take a look at Bolt's blockbuster moment.
I'm the type of person, I get nervous before my first race.
When he gets to the championship, he's just a different animal.
Inside the mind of the man who no one can beat. We've seen the showman, now for the more solitary side of Usain Bolt. This is Bolt behind the scenes as a camera crew followed him in the run-up to the last 3 Olympics. And just in case you were wondering, he is now completely comfortable with being called a legend.
I think after the second Olympics, people were saying, you're a legend. I was like, yeah. But I think when I get to the third one, I could say it myself. So for me, I'm more comfortable with it now, and I read it.
The 9 times Olympic gold medalist has confirmed he'll retire next year after the World Championships in London.
It's a lot of work, and I've accomplished what I've wanted. I've worked hard to get to where I wanted in my career, and I'm there. So for me, I'm fine, you know what I mean? A lot of people, you don't want to stay in the sport. A lot of people always try to continue and stay, and then to the point where they starting to lose, and I'm not that person. I hate losing, so I don't want to be that person to try to go on to 2020 and I get there and I lose. Then it wouldn't be a good way to go out in your career. So I really enjoy training.
So how does Bolt plan to spend his retirement? Well, as you can imagine, he's already plotting a second career.
I'm really into music. That's something that I've thought about, like being, I don't know what I'll do in the music, but something that I've really thought about over the years, because I'm really, I wouldn't say great at DJing, but I'm pretty good. I know I can't sing, so.
And just imagine how proud his parents are. Even when he was at school, they said they knew Bolt had immense talent.
From his kindergarten age, because going to school, he just liked to be at the top of everything that he does. And so during his playtime, they would play, you'd play against other boys, and then you would try to run, and he's always the winner.
The film's out today. As for an acting career, Bolt says it's a no from him. He's very happy with his leading role as the world's fastest man. Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
I'm not sure I could do any of his training techniques. They look pretty scary, don't they? Pulling the tyre and...
In slow motion, it did, yeah. And we'll be back, Sian, at the I Am Bolt premiere a bit later on, where Minnie will be chatting to the man himself on the red carpet. He may be the fastest runner in the world. She's the fastest talker. And as UKIP finally gets a new leader, I'll be talking to Paul Nuttall's deputy about whether he can unite the party and fill Nigel Farage's shoes for the umpteenth time.
Look forward to that. Thank you very much, Matt. That is it for now for us, though. Claire Nazir has got the weather for you next. I will see you again tomorrow at 5. I'll put my teeth in then. Matt's back at 6:30. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.